So I thought that since both of these movies are sequels and I saw them both in enhanced formats, we would do a little comparison review video today. So welcome to my reviews of The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard and Peter Rabbit 2. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel at least twice a week, and then movie reviews just like this one here at the weekend. I will leave my movie reviews playlist linked up above in case you are looking for something to watch this week. And I do have a bonus video comparing all the different formats of In the Heights coming out for you, I believe tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that one. But yes, these films might seem like complete opposite films, but I was like, well, they're both kind of me. If you've been following the channel for a while, you will know that I enjoyed both of these films the first time. Not necessarily talking about their sequels, but Peter Rabbit 1 and The Hitman's Bodyguard. I was surprised by how much I liked The Hitman's Bodyguard, and I watched Peter Rabbit 1 twice in cinemas, so you know I enjoyed them both. So I thought, well, let's make a video just sort of comparing the two. I saw them both this week. I saw The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard in IMAX, and I saw Peter Rabbit 2 in Dolby. So I saw them both in enhanced formats. Do these films feel like sequels? Absolutely they do. That whole thing that I said about A Quiet Place 2 really does stand up for Peter Rabbit 2 and Hitman's Bodyguard 2. They definitely both feel like sequels. Is it worth seeing them in the enhanced format? Well, Peter Rabbit 2, I think, definitely doesn't need to be seen on the big screen. Unless you are, really scraping the barrel for something to do with children, to take them to the cinema to go and see it. It is definitely one that is worth waiting for and just watching at home on your big enough screen. The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, seeing it in IMAX, the sound was very loud, and then the sort of special effects definitely looked okay on the big screen. Were there enough moments where, you needed that high quality sound or that high definition explosion? Not really. Again, neither of these films are particularly memorable, and neither of these films made me particularly, wow. I will say that I checked my watch more times during The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard than I did during Peter Rabbit 2, and the films are almost exactly the same length. I think it's 1 hour and 33 versus 1 hour and 34, so you can take away from that what you will. Obviously, in terms of the actual actors that we have, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard features Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek, and then someone who I'm not sure if he's even billed. So I'm not going to say because it might be a spoiler. I mean, obviously, if you go on IMDb, you can see that he's in it. But another very, very big name. And so in terms of like star quality and just seeing these people on the screen, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard definitely wins out. I would have loved to have seen just more of Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson being funny. The comedic moments in Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard were really good, but there were not enough of them. There were moments of chaotic violence, moments of like mindless action that didn't really advance the plot. And then you would get these like beautiful moments where Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds would just have this great on-screen chemistry and just be bouncing off each other. And you kind of almost felt like some of their comedy moments were possibly ad-libbed, possibly you've got the kind of improvisation there. I loved those moments, but there were not enough of those moments. And then in terms of the kind of star power and the comedy in Peter Rabbit 2, the comedy was very, very, very silly. Now, I know there are a lot of silly comedy, physical comedy moments in Peter Rabbit 1, but they kind of made sense for the storyline. In this one, you have Donald Gleason obviously CGI'd to be kind of bouncing around, bouncing unnecessarily, you know, getting dragged along by a car, just moments where the CGI wasn't that great. He didn't kind of fit those comedy moments, and they were just put in to provide another comedy moment. There was only one point, and I saw it in like a reasonably busy cinema. There was definitely more people in Peter Rabbit 2 than there were in Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, but there was only, I think, one moment where the kids along the row from me actually laughed. There was a couple of moments where it was very much like British humour. We know that this happens where I'm the only person laughing in the cinema, and there was a moment where Benjamin Bunny breaks the fourth wall, which sounds like a really weird thing to say. I thought that was funny. No one else did, but that could have been because it was kind of a joke at the expense of the country of America. But yeah, in terms of like the comedy in Peter Rabbit 2, really wasn't there. In terms of the star power in Peter Rabbit 2, obviously you've got Rose Byrne, you've got Donald Gleeson. You know, we know that they worked in Peter Rabbit 1. I wouldn't say that they necessarily had on-screen chemistry, which, given the fact that they are together in the film, I don't know. I think the scenes where Donald Gleeson was on his own were definitely better than the scenes where he was interacting with Rose Byrne. That's, again, always my opinion. But then, yeah, you've got James Corden voicing Peter Rabbit. You've got Margot Robbie as narrator versus Mopsy. I think she's Mopsy and not Flopsy. You know, Flopsy and Mopsy would be upset that I'd mixed that up. But yeah, there was just some moments in there. And then there's the unforgivable thing of the fact that the camera's clearly going along the street in Ambleside, and it's like, all was quiet in the town of Windermere. I'm like, it's not Windermere, it's Ambleside. Like, no. They had shots of Windermere in the previous film, but given the fact that most of this film was filmed in Australia, like, at least get the part that is in the Lake District right. Like, one of the things that I loved so much about Peter Rabbit 1 was the scenes in the Lake District, and it really made me like really homesick. And then I was actually able to go and watch Peter Rabbit 1 in the Lake District after that, and the cinema that I watched it in appears in the opening sort of scene of Ambleside, but it's not Windermere. Like, there are no shots of Windermere here. There are just no shots of Windermere in this film, so don't call it Windermere, call it Ambleside. Like, that really, I mean, that got my back up from the start, so yeah. And then, I don't know, I know it's a film about talking rabbits, and you know, it's based around Beatrix Potter, and there's some great nods to Beatrix Potter. I love the fact that we get to see so many of Beatrix Potter's other characters and other settings in this film. You know, we get to go to Gloucester, and it, you know, stuff takes place, and we see the tailor of Gloucester. You know, we see Pigling Bland, we see Ginger and Pickles, we see Johnny Townmouse. There's loads and loads of characters that we get to see, and that should have been really great, but there were so many parts that kind of took away from that. And again, like I say, I know that it's a film about talking rabbits. It's based on the tales of Beatrix Potter, and so it's not realistic. So if they want to call Ambleside Windermere, it's up to them. But they also paint this picture of publishing as having all this money, and I'm like, publishing doesn't have that amount of money. Like, even the big publishers that, you know, get the film deals, what have you, they're not going to be giving Bea an Aston Martin for her to publish another Peter Rabbit book. It just, I don't know. Like I say, it kind of got my back up from the start, and then yeah. So in terms of actually comparing the films, we've sort of compared them in terms of whether you need to see them on the big screen, the star power, the comedic value, the amount of times I checked my watch. Yeah, would I recommend either of them? I mean, either of them are worth a watch. Should you spend your cinema going money to see either of them? Absolutely not. I think that Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard had the potential to be a decent film, especially since I saw it in IMAX. It really did have the potential. It's got the star power, it's got those moments of comedy, but it was just too chaotic. the action didn't advance the plot. Speaking of chaotic, Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, was also quite chaotic. Again, it had the potential to be beautiful, it had the potential to be heartwarming, and then it just took the kind of cheap comedy option, which, as I say, I can vouch for the fact that the kids in my cinema laughed once, you know? I think that says it all, really. So in terms of comparing the two, they're both sequels. They're both not great. They're both maybe worth a watch at home, but I do not recommend paying your money to go and see these in the cinema. There are better films out there. Go and see Cruella. Go and see In the Heights. I have a couple of other reviews coming up. Segue into, make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on those, because those are some films that I do actually recommend you seeing. And hit that notification bell so that you get notified as soon as they go live. I will be back with that In the Heights comparison for you as a special bonus video, I think tomorrow. My movie reviews playlist will be linked just about here. And I will be back with more bookish content for you in the week. So I will see you then. Thanks for watching.